I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL, thank you for joining me. In this video I'm talking about what has become my new favourite fragrance from Perfume Parlour, probably because it's based on one of my all-time favourite fragrances. Stay tuned. As you might know, I'm a big fan of Parfums de Marly, and I would say my favourite fragrance from the house is Carlisle. I love the apple, the tonka, the nutmeg, the patchouli, the rose, the tobacco accord. I'm just gonna have to have a little sniff actually. Gets me every time. Amazing scent. If you've not tried Carlisle, you should definitely look into this. If you're struggling to find it, or it's a little bit too expensive, then there's another option. Because Perfume Parlour have come out with a fragrance that smells very similar to Carlisle. This one is called Pennine. The code on this is 1008. If you go onto Perfume Parlour's website, there's a link in my description. It is an affiliate link. You can click through that and you can get to the website. You can type in the search box either Pennine 1008 or Carlisle, and that will get you to this fragrance. I just love how thick and rich and luxurious Carlisle is. Performance is another level. It doesn't really get much better than this. So, goes without saying, love the fragrance, one of my favourite fragrances. And when I saw that Perfume Parlour had released an interpretation, I just had to try it because I was just interested. And I think a lot of you guys out there maybe would be interested as well, because I know not a lot of people own Carlisle. Possibly because the cost is maybe a little bit prohibitive, or it's difficult to find. Whatever the reason, I thought I would make this video and just let you know my thoughts. So because I love Carlisle so much, I will be being quite picky, okay? Pennine has a hard act to follow, and I'm not going to go easy on this fragrance just because I love Perfume Parlour. As you know, Perfume Parlour got me into niche fragrances. I wouldn't be standing here talking to you right now if it wasn't for Perfume Parlour. But I don't owe them anything, and I will be being as critical as I need to be because I want you to understand exactly how I feel about this fragrance. I have been testing them side by side. I've given this some full wearings on its own. I have worn them side by side, so I will be giving you a detailed comparison of how these two fragrances compare. I've given this quite a few full wearings now. I've had this for a few weeks, and I'm just going to spray it on again just to get the lovely opening, because it is a very good opening. And I remember spraying this for the first time, and then as now I don't have to go into my skin to smell this, because straight away, thankfully, you are straight into that Carlisle DNA. You get this beautiful scent bubble, you get this smooth fruitiness, you get the depth, you get the richness. It smells luxurious. Everything's there. I get the spiced apple, I get the tobacco, I get the vanilla, I get the woods. I would say that Carlisle is smoother and a little more full-bodied, particularly in the opening, and I think it's stronger. I think when you first spray the original Carlisle, I think you're going to get a bigger scent bubble. I think overall, we're just going to say this now, that the performance of the original is better than this. This is still decent performance, but it's not quite as good as the beast that Carlisle is. But it gets the Carlisle DNA. It's not quite as smooth and refined, but it's there. You know, we are in Carlisle territory. There is a slightly different accord coming out of the Perfume Parlour version, and it's probably to do with how Perfume Parlour have had to blend a fragrance to make it smell similar to Carlisle. They won't be using the same kind of naturals and probably won't be using the same quality of materials. I guess Perfume Parlour's is largely synthetic molecules, if not completely synthetic molecules. But you know, they've done a good job of recreating the Carlisle DNA. It's closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought Carlisle was a complex fragrance. I think it is a complex fragrance that is difficult to copy. So I was surprised at how much you do get that lovely smell that I associate with Carlisle. But there is something underneath this. There's almost like a cookie dough type smell, or a bit of a cacao or chocolatey type of smell that I'm not sure is an intended accord from Perfume Parlour. Like I said, it's probably to do with the way that they've had to blend it, but it's not unpleasant, it's fine, it's just a little bit different, but that is a difference to me in the opening between the Perfume Parlour and the original. And I just want to talk about a few of the other differences as well. I think it's really important to highlight what the differences of these two fragrances are. So one of the things that I really enjoy about Carlisle is this intense woody accord that it has. Fragrantica list Gaiac wood, but on Parfums de Marly's website they don't. But the wood note here is very strong and punchy, almost to the point and almost of the intensity of oud. I spray this sometimes and I feel like, am I getting some oud? And actually I was wearing this once and someone said, is it an oud fragrance? It was someone who knew a bit about fragrances and they felt that they could detect some oud. So I don't know if there is or not, or whether it's the Gaiac wood or it's just a combination of different woods, I'm not sure, but it's got this strong, intense, punchy, woody accord, which gives Carlisle some fantastic backbone and gives it some assertive qualities, and it gives it the attitude, because it's a very sweet, almost gourmand fragrance. So I think to have this extra attitude of this punchy, woody type accord is great. Now, I will say the Perfume Parlour Pennine does have the woody accords, they are in there, but not as intensely as in Carlisle. It doesn't give you quite the same punch or quite the same oomph, if you know what I mean. So it is there and the wood there is detectable and it's satisfying, but I just think that I get more of that woody accord. The other thing that I get a little more of in the original is the full-bodied nature of the fragrance. Parfums de Marly's fragrances, particularly Carlisle, they're rich and very luxurious, and to some extent I am getting that from the Perfume Parlour, but it's not quite as thick, not quite as rich, not quite as smooth. Maybe to do with the vanilla. So the vanilla in Carlisle, I believe, is a natural vanilla and it smells quality. The Perfume Parlour one is perhaps not a natural vanilla. I think it's maybe vanillin perhaps, or another synthetic variation on vanilla. It smells very nice, but I just think that we're not quite getting that same creaminess and that same richness that we're getting with Carlisle. I mean, I'm nitpicking here. These are small differences. They're not massive differences because it does smell very similar to Carlisle, but I just want to point out the differences that I'm detecting. Another little difference that I'd just like to point out at this stage while I'm pointing out the differences, when Carlisle dries down, it retains this spiced apple accord. So it never goes, it remains on my skin like that, and it's obviously it's lovely. The Perfume Parlour version, as it dries down, I seem to get more of a vanilla woody type of skin scent, and it loses a little bit of that fruitiness, a little bit of that apple accord. I'm not saying one is necessarily worse than the other, I'm just saying that there are differences. If I was to give it a percentage and say how close Pennine is to Carlisle, I'd go somewhere around 80–85%. So you're gonna get that unmistakable DNA of Carlisle. What you aren't going to get is the nuances and the quality of the materials used in Carlisle. It's not far off, and in the air it is very, very similar, but it is not going to be exactly the same. So I guess if you're going to buy this, it just depends if you're happy with 80–85%, or if you're looking for inspirations that are 99%, 100%, then there's not many of those. But this, as far as I'm concerned, is a pretty close and faithful representation of that smell that I love so much about Carlisle. So if it's not an exact copy, why would you buy this? There could be a few reasons. I think the biggest one is the cost. So Carlisle retails in a 125ml bottle for £250. That's prohibitive pricing for a lot of people. Some people are quite happy to pay that, but everyone has different ideas about what they would like to spend. And a lot of people probably wouldn't want to spend £250 on a fragrance, never mind how good it smells or what size the bottle is, it's a lot of money. So I worked out that if you were going to buy roughly 125ml of Pennine, they don't sell it as 125ml, but I've worked it out based on the pricing on their website, it's going to work out around £42. So there is a big price difference there, and you just have to decide whether this kind of 15-20% difference in the two fragrances is worth it based on that price difference. And I think probably a lot of people will think it's worth it, and rightly so, because in its own right, it's a very lovely fragrance. Forget the comparisons to Carlisle. In its own right, wearing this on its own, it is a really, really good fragrance. Another reason why people might want to get this, the original is sometimes a little harder than other Parfums de Marly fragrances to come by. I think it is sold in Selfridges and Harrods and, you know, various places online, but it does seem to be in more limited quantities than other Parfums de Marly. So perhaps you're having difficulty getting hold of it or even sampling it. So some people may not have an idea what Carlisle smells like. You might want to know what all the fuss is about. So the Perfume Parlour could be a way of you getting a really good idea of how it smells. I know that I've used Perfume Parlour for that reason a lot in the past. I will get an idea of a fragrance, and if I like the Perfume Parlour version, I'll often then go on to buy the original version as well. Sometimes if you get small samples, they're not enough to really wear for you know, a week or 2 weeks or even longer. But with Perfume Parlour being so affordable, you can just get whatever fragrance you're interested in and, you know, wear the heck out of it. Drown yourself in it if you want and really get to know the fragrance. So some of you may want to, you know, use Pennine as a good way of finding out what Carlisle actually smells like. Okay, so let me go over the pros and cons of Pennine, and then you can put all this together and decide whether it's something that you're interested in looking into. So main pros for me are, first of all, it does give you a fairly close interpretation of Carlisle, and that's the main thing, isn't it? That's what you want to know. And for me, it gets close enough to be able to enjoy the DNA of Carlisle. It also has pretty decent performance. It's not beast mode like Carlisle, but it's still fairly decent. You know, it's just in very good performance territory rather than like mind-blowing performance. And of course, it's the price. That's another pro for this one. You can get this 13ml sprayer, which is the one I've got here, for £6.75, and 30ml is a great size of bottle to be able to, you know, enjoy a fragrance and really get to know it. So for £6, it's pretty good value, I would say. Let's talk about the cons. It's not an exact copy of Carlisle. It's not 100% the same. It's fairly close and close enough to really enjoy it, but it is not an exact copy. So if you're looking for something exact, this won't be for you. You can tell also that the quality of materials used in this one aren't quite the same. They're not as refined, they're not as high quality, not as natural, and then because of that, the performance isn't quite the same. It's not quite as good as Carlisle. And also, if you are buying this version, of course, you are not getting the Parfums de Marly presentation. I love the bottles, big heavy bottles with caps that you don't want to drop on your toe. If you're into all that, then that is something that obviously you're not going to get with Perfume Parlour. But having said that, the Perfume Parlour presentation is absolutely fine for a fragrance that you're not paying a lot of money for at all. Bottom line, if you want Carlisle, you've got to buy Carlisle, okay? That is the only way you're going to be able to experience that DNA at its absolute best. But if the price is too much for you, if that is prohibitive and you're not willing to pay Carlisle prices and it isn't really discounted as far as I can see anyway, then, you know, you might very well be interested in trying this one. I know my friend Nigel at the channel 2 Cents Worth has recently just got his nose on Carlisle and he loved it, but he did say it's out of his price range. He would not spend that much money on a fragrance. So Nigel, maybe this one is a good one for you to try. I've really been enjoying this. I've given it a good few wearings and I enjoy it as an interpretation of Carlisle, but I enjoy it as a fragrance in its own right as well. Forget comparisons to Carlisle. It is just a really good, really nice smelling fragrance that I would say at the moment has become my favorite fragrance from Perfume Parlour, just based on the fact that I love Carlisle so much and it gets close enough for me. So I'm really enjoying wearing this, and it's going to be perfect for autumn and winter. So this is going to be getting a lot of wearings, and it's great for, you know, if you want to go out and it's nothing particularly special, you don't want to waste the expensive juice, you just go into the supermarket, picking the kids up from school, whatever you're doing, then this will just scratch that Carlisle itch without you having to worry about draining all that expensive juice. If you were thinking of picking this fragrance up, it is currently in stock on the website. I did check before I started filming this video, once I released this video, I don't know, maybe it will sell out. Maybe a lot of you out there watch this and think, yeah, you wouldn't mind trying a little bit of that pennine. So it is currently in stock at the moment. If you did want to get to the website, please use my affiliate link in the description below. That really helps me out, really helps the channel out. Once you get to the website, in the search box, you can either type in Carlisle, you can type in pennine, or you can type in 1008, or type all of those things in, and it should get you to the fragrance that you need, and then you can just look at all the different sizes and all the different prices. I think a lot of you have probably already bought this. It's been on the website now for a little while, and there's a lot of Carlisle lovers out there, so please let me know if you've got experience with this Perfume Parlour one. What do you think? How close do you think it is? Is it closer than 80%, or is it less? Whatever your experience with this one, it would be really valuable to have that, so please drop me a comment. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. It's always appreciated. Remember, keep tuning into FM, keep smelling good, and I'll see you in the next one.